Colette's Corner.
Hi there, this is Colette from Colette Sewing Machines Plus in Yorkton, and I'd like to welcome you to Colette's Corner. Today on Colette's Corner, we're going to make these fun makeup bags. And what I love about them is they're quilt as you go. So everything that you need is in the package, and I'll show you that right away. It comes with two sizes, so you get two sizes in the one package. This one here I did out of leftover cork. So just to show you what you can do even with your leftovers. This one I did out of your basic quilting cottons. And the two just have a completely different look just because of what they're made out of. I could have used vinyl on here, canvas, anything that you have hanging around that you would like to try it out with. Everything works. So don't be afraid to try, different textures of fabrics and weights and that kind of thing. So today what we're going to do is we're going to make the larger bag. This is the smaller one. It has lots of room in it. I've just kind of stuffed it with a little bit of batting just to give it a little bit of volume and that. What's really unique about these two is this zipper on the top. This is what you get. Okay, so if you're afraid to insert zippers, all you do is slide your piece inside and top stitch it and sew up either side. It can't get any easier than that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to work with the larger bag today. Okay, so when you purchase your kit, this is what you get. Okay, so you're going to get your batting and you're going to get two zippers in there because one is for the small one and one is for the big one. Okay, and inside your package, here's your big one. Here's your small one, okay? And then as you unwrap this, you're going to notice that you have your instructions inside, okay? I'm not going to unwrap this one entirely because I've already opened one, okay? I just wanted to show you what you get, and everything is printed right on your piece of batting. So basically what you're doing is you're sewing by number, okay? So these are really fast and easy to make. So I'm just going to set this aside here, okay, and these are the instructions that you get with it. So it tells you what size to cut every one of your pieces for the placement on your bag, on your makeup bag. On the back side, it shows you the instructions for constructing it after you've done all of your piecing. Okay, so this is, of course, super handy to have because it just makes it so much easier than trying to figure it out on your own. I just love the way she's done all of these quilt as you go. I've done several of them. I've done runners, I've done bags, I've done placemats, I've done pillows. She just has a wonderful system here that's fast and easy, and you don't even have to think, and everything comes out perfect, okay? So love, love, love her product. Okay, so what I did with my larger bag is this particular fabric that I had chosen had a border print in it. So what I did is I chose to take two pieces of my border print and add that in, so it just made it again a little bit different. Now you'll notice I'm going to open this piece here, you'll notice on this piece here that there is two different fabrics that you would put on it. And if you look at the bottom of this, you can see that I have two different fabrics, or two different pieces on there. What I chose to do, because I used the border print, is I chose just to cut the width of the border print and not add the second one on there. Okay, and at the top here, I again took a piece from the border print and I put that piece across this one, and then I still added the extra piece that was at the top. So you have the ability to get really creative with these. If I chose to, I could have used decorative stitches on here. I could have top stitched it. On this one, you'll notice that I actually top stitched every one of my seams down. You could have easily gone into all of your fun decorative stitches as well. You could take little pieces of fabric and do little embroidery on them if you chose to. You can add appliques onto them. You can just get super creative with this. But with this one here, I chose to use the border print that matched this just to add a little bit of, just to be different, just to make it look a little bit different. Okay, so what you start with first is you start with just roughly cutting out the batting that comes inside. Okay, so again, you're going to get two. You're going to get a set for the small one and a set for the big one. And then you're going to cut out a backing piece that is a little bigger than what your batting is that you started with. Okay, and I'm just going to turn this. I had it a certain way here. Just let me get this so that I have enough on my side. Okay, so you can see I've just made sure that there's enough fabric going all the way around. Now, in order for this not to move on me, I'm just going to use some 505 spray. I love this stuff, use it all the time. And I'm just going to tip back just half of it, okay? And then I'm just going to lightly spray some 505 onto my piece of fabric, and I'm just going to smooth it over. And I'm just going to turn it this way, and I again am going to go and add a little bit of 505, and then again just smooth it into position. So that's going to hold it for me so that it's not migrating all over the place as I'm sewing. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my sewing machine, and you can see on the back side of this one, I used a lighter thread on here because I wanted you to be able to see what was happening. I'm actually going to go and I'm going to stitch all the way around the outside edge of it. So again, it's going to hold it into position for me, as well as when I need to trim this after, I actually have a trim line to follow. Otherwise, how am I going to know where this stops and it starts? So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the sewing machine, and we are going to start putting this together. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch around that line like I had said, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my walking foot, because my walking foot is going to help my fabric from not pushing forward, because of course now we're basically quilting, right? Because we have 3 layers. Right now we only have 2, but as we add our pieces of fabric on top, now we have 3 layers. So if you don't want your layers to shift and you have a walking foot, I would suggest this is the time that you put your walking foot on. Now a lot of people call me and they say, how do I put my walking foot on? So what you do is I'm just going to take off my regular sewing foot. And on this particular machine, because it has just a hole, and it doesn't have an opening. Lots of other machines will just have an opening there. It just looks like a claw, and then that claw goes around your screw. So if you have one that just has that claw on it, then you don't have to entirely take this screw out. You only need to just push it around the screw itself, okay? But on this particular machine, because of the way, this is actually a Janome. It's the HD9. And this machine I love. I use this lots for, well, I use it all the time for my piecing and stuff. And then all of my fun stuff I do all on my embroidery machine. Not that piecing isn't fun too, but if you want all of that decorative stuff, because this one here, this particular machine is only a straight stitch machine, okay? But it's heavy duty, so it goes through anything. If you're a bag maker, anything like that, where you're sewing lots of vinyls and canvases and stuff, it just goes through it like butter. I absolutely love this machine. I use it actually every single day. So if you do stuff like that, it's something to think about and look into, because it really, really helps a lot. The only thing that I wasn't happy with this machine was the lighting. So I've added this lighting on the inside here, and I'm just going to show you, because it is just amazing the difference it makes with and without that. So if I were to unplug that, look at the difference in what my lighting is. Plug it back in and you can see it just brightened the whole area up. So I've added that to my machine just because I can't see anymore. Okay, and it's just really nice to have that extra. If you have an extension table as well, it's really nice to put your extension table on, because you can see here my stuff isn't all hanging off the side. I've got, you know, a whole large area here to be able to place my hands and everything, and it just helps me control things a little bit better. Okay, so I'm just going to sew exactly on top of that line. On this machine, because the stitch length tends to be a little bit longer, I have it on a 2. Okay, you might have yours on a 2.5, you know, but just pick that regular stitch length that you would use. And I'm just going to go around. With the walking foot on, the machine does sound a little bit louder, but that's normal because the bottom and the top are working together. So, And then I'm just going to, and you'll notice this has needle up and down as well. So when I'm stopping, it's easy to turn the corner. So I'm just going to go entirely around this piece. I know this is like watching paint dry, but just give me a second and we'll get around the whole outside edge of this. If you accidentally go in a little ways or whatever, don't worry about it. It's not going to change drastically. And you see I can creep up to my corner by just touching my needle up and down. This machine also has what's called a knee lift, so that you can just lift your pressure foot with your knee as well. So I use that sometimes and sometimes I don't, and today I just don't have it on. So okay, and this has what's called built-in scissors as well, so I just need to touch the scissors and it cuts my thread for me. And I'm just going to grab my snips. And we'll get rid of this little tail here. Okay, so now the fun begins. You are going to decide where it is that you want your pieces to be positioned. So these pieces are cut according to the size that she's told me in the pattern itself. So I just need to decide what order that I'm going to put these in. So you can check out a few different ways, but I think that looks good. Or should I separate it with this? Yeah, maybe I'll separate it like that. So that's the way that I'm going to sew it on. Okay, so what I do is I just take these two and just kind of put them off to the side while I'm stitching these two on. Okay, and you will notice that on the other piece it would have said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're at 9 and 10. Okay, because I've already done the one side. So I'm going to lay this piece on 9. And then I'm going to make sure that my butterflies, because these do fly in direction, so if you have directional fabric, make sure you check on that. And then I am just going to line this up on the edge there, and I am going to do my 1/4 inch. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is flip it. Okay, and then I'm going to go and I'm just going to finger press it. Okay. So I usually finger press it until I get this whole piece on, then I'll go to my iron and I'll press it, because you don't want to be distorting this batting that's underneath, okay? So what I do is, like I say, I'll finger press it, and then after I get these two pieces on, then I'll press this center area here, okay? So we decided this one was going to be on this end, so again, I'm just going to line it up with the edge there. You're going to start and finish just a little bit off of your piece, okay? And then again, I'm going to flip this, give it a little finger press, turn this one this way, and I'm going to apply this one here. Finger press this one out this way. Now I just have my little mini iron off to the side here, so I'm just going to gently press these out, okay, just to nicely flatten them, okay? So you can see how fast that was. These go together extremely fast, and because I'm cheating a little bit and I'm actually using a border, I don't have to sew two pieces on here. I only need to sew one. So I'm just going to bring my floral here that I'm going to put at the bottom, and make sure that you dry fit it so that you know you need to go up this way, so that you don't end up doing this and your flowers are upside down. Okay, so just make sure you place it the way you need it to be, and then just flip it, and you're going to line it up with that blue line that's on your piece, And on this particular one, because it was a border and I didn't want to lose anything on the top, just let me lift this. I didn't want to lose anything on the top of these flowers. If I would have cut exactly on that line, then it would have been kissing right up to the top of the flowers. So what I did is I just cut it 1/4 of an inch bigger, and now on the back side, I'm going to follow this line so that I don't see any of that light beige color coming through. So I'm just going to follow this line. And what's happening here as well, because I do have on my even feed foot or walking foot, people call it several different things, it's not pushing my fabric forward as I'm going. So I don't need to pin or anything because this is taking care of that for me. Okay. So again, I'm just going to flip this over. Oh, this is just so pretty. I absolutely love this fabric. Do you remember the name of it, Brenda? Can't remember the name of it, but I'll post it at the bottom of my piece when I'm done. Okay. So now I'm going to take my butterflies, and again, I'm going to dry fit it to make sure my butterflies are flying in the right direction. And I'm just going to place my butterflies on like this. And again, just do my 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'm going to finger press it. And on this particular one, because I'm going to add another piece onto it, I'm just going to press this up just to get a nice flat seam there. Okay, and now again I'm taking this one with the butterflies, and remember again it's directional, so you got to make sure that you're putting it on the right way. So I'm just going to dry fit it again and double check, and we're just going to add this onto the piece. Press it, and we're going to take it to the iron here and give it a little press. You notice I'm not pressing hard. I'm just lightly pressing it because you don't need to press hard to get a nice crisp seam. Okay, there we go. So now we've got all of our pieces sewn on already. So now what I'm going to do is I want to be able to tack down all of this outside area. So now I'm going to go to the back side of it, and I am going to follow that same line that I had done before so that all of these sides are tacked down. Okay, so I'm going to quickly do that for you, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to put the zipper in. Okay, so now we have stitched around our piece again from the back side like we just did. Now we need to trim it down because we need to get it down to size now so that we can now apply our zipper. Okay, so I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to go just a little speck on the outside of that line just so that I don't cut my, my stitching. And I'm just going to go around the whole piece, and actually I even like doing this one here with my scissors because it then just allows me, because there's a lot of little corners to turn and stuff, and then this just makes it a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to do that, and then just bring it in here. Okay, go up on this side. And then I am going to do the same thing with the other one, and I will meet you over at the pressing station to show you how we're going to put the zipper in. Okay, So now I've cut all around both of my pieces here, and I just love this. Isn't it pretty? I just love the way using that border print in there just added something a little more unique. And I know once I sew the bottom half of it, we're only going to see the top half of the flower, but we can do this to see the bottom half. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to attach this zipper. Okay, and what you'll notice is when you take the zippers out, they tend to be like a little bit, I'm going to use the word warped, and that you can see that this side is a little more curved than what the other side is. So what I did is I just went in and I just took my steam and I just very, very gently went on it on that side. And then I turned it this way, because you can see now that there's that little bit of a bubble there, and I just kind of steamed it. I didn't touch down on it, okay? And then I went down and I touched on it. And you can see that helped, you know, make it a little bit straighter, okay? These are cut on the bias, and that's why they tend to curve like that, okay? So they've nicely stitched all of that for us. So now all we need to do is open this little casing they've made here and slide it over top of the bag. Okay, so now that they're all cut, I just want you to look. See, this one here I did with the colors on the red and the black together, and this one here I separated it with this color. So you decide which side of the bag that you most like, okay? Unless you've made them identical. I do that lots of times too. I just make both sides exactly the same. Because when you look at your zipper's going to open this way and close that way, okay? So you want to do it so that your right hand or your left hand is closing it, okay? So you want to make sure that it's on this side. Or did I do that backwards? Just a second. Okay. Yes, I have it the right way. Do you ever have those days where you have to question yourself? Okay, so now we're going to put it on this way so that if I open it this way, and I'm going to close it that way. No, I've got it backwards. Okay, we finally got it. Okay, I'm going to open this way, and I'm going to close that way. Okay, so this is the side that I decided I wanted to be for the front of my bag. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to open this piece here, and we're just going to slide our bag and give it a little bit of equalness on either side so that you have something to work with. Okay, so and I've butted it right up inside. Can you see that nice and clear? Yeah, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my most favorite thing in the world, and it's the Roxanne Glue Basted. I use this on everything, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put the glue basted, and my container is getting a little bit empty because I use it so much. And then I'm just going to gently lay that down, and I'm just going to take my iron, and the heat of the iron is what's going to dry the glue, and then it's going to act as a pin for me so that I don't need to do any pinning. And it really, really helps in this not advancing while I'm sewing it. So because this here has a casing, I'm going to flip it over to the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And then I'm just going to make sure it's tucked underneath there. And again, I'm going to just place my iron on top of it to dry it. Okay. And now that has taken care of me having to pin it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the other side in for the top. So what I like to do here is I'm actually going to fold that on half. Is my iron in the way here? Let's get that out of the way. So I'm going to fold this on half like this so that when I lay my, whoops, almost did it backwards. When I lay my piece down, I am going to make sure that they match on both sides here, and then I'm going to tuck it inside my piece so that I know that I have it placed equally on either side. Okay, so you can see they're matching up there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. Where's my back side? There we go. Okay, and this is where the placement of this one is going to go. And you can do a double take on that too, just to make sure that everything is lining up. And I believe I have it going good. So I'm going to get rid of that one. That one was already glued. And then I'm just going to place a little glue in here again. Make sure it's up there. And use my iron to dry it. Go, and we're just going to flip that and do the same thing on the other side, and I'll meet you over at the sewing machine. Okay, so now we're back at the sewing machine, and I am just going to top stitch this zipper down. Because I've already glued it in place with the Roxanne glue basted, I don't have to do any pinning again, so there's nothing in my way. So I just kind of pick a spot, and you'll notice that I went back to my regular foot because I find it hard to see with the walking foot to get a decently even top stitching. Okay, so I'm just kind of following a spot that I always watch on my foot to be able to do my top stitching. If you really are worried about your top stitching and you don't want anyone to see it, then do a matching thread, okay? I'm still just using my my same taupey thread here that I was using to sew the bag. So. And you'll notice when I'm doing this, I'm not pushing or pulling. I'm letting the machine do the work for me. All I'm doing is just lightly guiding it. Because if I fight against it, then that's when my stitching and stuff like that will actually go a little crazy. So there's my top stitching on either side. This side might be a hair different than that side, but don't worry about it. The bag's going to be like this, and they'd have to turn it around to actually make and see, you know, if I've made any errors. So now I'm just going to go over here on the end, and I just want to stitch across here just to make sure that if I open my zipper accidentally, that I don't pull it entirely off the end, because that's not really good. Okay? So right now here, to finish these seams before I stitch it, I could put and finish these off with a French seam. Not a French seam, a binding around my piece here. So I could do that, or I could just serge my edge off. So when I'm done, I'm actually just going to go to my serger, and I'm just going to serge around the whole inside of it. Okay, so it's up to you, you know, what depending on what you want your seams to look like inside. I don't mind having that serger finish on the inside. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to flip it back this way. And what you want to pay attention to now is you want to make sure that you're not bringing this down like this so that these don't match. So you want to go in and match those up the best that you possibly can. So if this part here is a little bit out, don't worry about that as much as making sure that each one of those rows that you sewed are matching. So I'm just going to use my Wonder Clips here, and again I'm going to match this one up. And the way you can look too is you can bring it like this, because remember, this is not where it's going to match. It's going to match your 1/4 inch back. So don't worry about what the whole outside edge is looking like. Look back and make sure that you're lined up where your seam is going to be, not just to where the outside edge is going to be, because that might be a little bit different. And then I'm just going to do the same thing here. And then we're just going to literally sew down the side here, and then around this little corner, and then we're going to sew across the bottom and down both of these sides here, and then we're going to close these after. Okay, so I'll just sew the one side for you so that you can see. Okay, and another thing that you should do is don't start off here and then come on. Start on, go back, and then come forward so that this zipper doesn't shift on you. Okay, so I'm going to use a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch seam allowance, pardon me, and then I'm just going to stitch forward and then stitch backward and then come down. Okay. And I like to just take my little snippies just so that I can kind of hold this into position so that it doesn't advance forward on me. So this is where that seam was. So I'm going to do that, and that really helps it not advance forward. I also use my purple thing, and I'll go grab that and do it on use the purple thing on the other side. I just didn't have it beside my sewing machine here. So I'm just going to come to the end here, and then we're just going to turn the corner and go down this side. There we go. And my purple thing magically came out of nowhere. So here's my purple thing. Okay, so I'm going to use that on the other side here. And again, we're going to make sure that these match. One there. And if they shift a tiny bit, you can either, take it out, or it's not totally the end of the world if that were to happen. But okay, so again, we're going to use our 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're just going to stop right there because that's where that little corner turns, and this is where my purple thing comes in, and I'm just going to hold that there. There we are here. The nice thing about the purple thing is it's plastic, so if I were to sew over the tip of this, we're going to have a broken needle. But if I were to sew over the tip of this, then, we're safe. So it's really safer using the purple. There you go. So now I'm going to stitch across the bottom, and we'll come back and I'll show you how to do these corners. Okay, now I've serged around the hoe down the sides and across the bottom. Now we're going to make our boxed corner. So we're just going to take these two and we're going to let them meet at their seam here. And what you're going to do is put one of your seams going one way and one going the other way, because it'll help get rid of any bulk that you have. And again, I'm just going to use one of my clips, and I'm going to go in, and I'm still going to use that same 1/4 inch that I have been using. And my 1/4 inch, because my foot is a different size, then it's a smaller foot. It might look like I'm doing more than 1/4 inch, but I'm not, because it's just the way the foot is on this particular machine. So we're just going to go across like that. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And again, that 1/4 inch. Purple thing to make sure my seams are going in the proper direction. Okay, so now we've made our boxed corner, and I am just going to turn the bag. Now I would go and serge this too, but I'll serge this later. And I'm just going to make sure that my corners, my boxed, has come out really nice, and then turn it up this way. And then you're just going to kind of pop this back so that you can get your zipper going here. Just give me a second, I gotta do it down here. There we go. Okay. So there is your makeup bag. Quick, easy, and it makes a wonderful gift for anybody. Okay, so thank you for joining me today on Colette's Corner. I really would like you to follow me all on my social media and please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. So everybody have a great day and happy sewing.